Hey guys, it's Wednesday afternoon and we have another amazing Speedway chat show. Tonight's show with Andy Smith is going to be a cracker. We've already been speaking to him behind the scenes and we've got some stories. We've got some stories for sure. How are you, Wilbur? You all good?
Yeah, we're doing great. Just got back from school about, I think, 20 minutes ago. So just getting on the show and ready to do it. It's a great show. We're looking forward to it. I haven't seen Andy in a really long time, so it's looking forward to be speaking and telling stories with him.
Yeah, for sure. So just before we start, I'd like to say massive thanks to Speculate to Accumulate. Speedway, these guys help us out a lot with our advertising, and I cannot thank Ian Jordan enough. But before we go any further, can you get everybody just to comment where you're watching from, not commenting from, where you're watching from. If you've got any stories about Andy, most people seem to have a story about Andy Smith. So, get it in the comments. Any questions, let us know. It's going to be a good show. So, Wilbur, what have we got? We got some exciting news. So at the end of the show, if you wait to the end of the show, we have an announcement for next week's guest. It's going to be a good one. So stick around for that. And in other news, I just want to say that we've been working behind the scenes, and we are going to have a Speedway Chat Show podcast. So we have been working on how to get the content seen by more people and all the rest of it. And there's going to be a few little changes over the coming weeks to fit with the podcast, so that you guys, instead of sitting here and watching our show for an hour and 10 minutes, which is sometimes too long for some people, you don't find the time to do it. You can now just, when you're cooking your tea, say, hey, Google, play Speedway Chat Show podcast, and you'll have, or through any smart speaker, and you'll be able to listen to our show whenever it's convenient for you. So that's quite a cool little feature. It's something that I've been trying to work on for the last week or so. So all the audio from the show, they'll go straight onto the podcast. It takes a couple of days to get approved by all the different channels, but you'll literally be able to say, hey Google, hey Siri, and say,
whoa, man, you're about to trigger off my Siri there. Whoa, calm down there. Yeah. No, so, I'm really excited about that. I've wanted to have the chat show version of the podcast, or podcast version of the chat show, I should say, for a while now, and it's this is going to be very cool, and be able to just say hey Siri or hey Google, hey Alexa, to listen to the show is going to be awesome, and you'll be able to hear behind the scenes stuff. You're going to have more polished up content. Also, we need to thank someone for that. Mr. the Magic Crasher. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his last name.
David Bonfadini.
Yes, the Magic Crasher on TikTok.
So a friend of mine,
Instagram.
David Bonfadini. He's called the Magic Crasher. If you want to go and check him out, he's got nearly 3 million followers on TikTok. And me and Will have been talking about how to lift the production value of the chat show. We've been trying to do this for a long time, and we sort of wanted to get some bigger cameras and all the rest of it. And it's all really quite expensive. So chatting to my friend David, he was going to lend his camera. He lives like 10 minutes away from Wilbur. He's going to lend his camera to Wilbur so he can produce these higher quality videos. And on the way to Wilbur's house, he phoned me and he said, you know what, mate? He said, when I first started doing magic, he said, I had someone give me a camera and I'd like to return that favor to somebody else. So he turned up to Wilbur's house and did some magic to him, and they filmed him.
Really? This is how it went down. He came up to me, shook his hand. He's like, I'm David. I'm the Magic Crasher. We're filming this right now. And I said, okay, whoa, okay. So luckily I was like, okay, we're going to, I wasn't looking like fresh out of bed or something like that. But, he just started filming, and he bit the top of a Sharpie off, right? And then spit it back on. Perfectly. He swallowed it, spit it back on top of the Sharpie perfectly. I don't know how he did it, and then I'm still mind blown from it, but still, he said, if I'm able to do this, I'm going to give you this camera. And I was like, give me the, and I still didn't.
Give you a gift.
Yeah, he gave me a gift. That's what he said. And I was like, okay. And I wasn't thinking about, him giving me this camera because I was like, he was going to lend me a camera. This is awesome. And then he gave me this camera and he gave me a lens for it. He gave me extra batteries. He's just, I mean, what better of a dude can you do? And I want to return the favor now. I feel like someone's done me a good deed and you want to pass the favor on. It's like Starbucks when you're waiting in line, you get your coffee paid for. You're like, now I got to pay for that guy's coffee.
So we'll put the video of Wilbur having magic done to him at the end of the show. It'll be on our Instagram story. So go and check that out. It's quite nice. So let's get our guest on. Do you want to give him an introduction?
I think all you need to say is Andy Smith. I mean, that's all you need to say. He's the legend, the man, the myth, Andy Smith. Welcome to the Speedway Chat Show.
Thank you.
Hey, Andy, how are
you? Okay, thank you.
Good. So I was speaking to some people the other week, and they said, "Oh, why don't you get Andy Smith on the show?" And I said, "Oh, well, yeah, we could do." And then they started reeling off a load of stories of what's happened to Andy Smith throughout his career and the highs and lows and things like that. And I thought, you know what? Instantly, I was like, we need to get Andy on the show and talk about these things and get them out there to the general public. And I think there's a lot of people probably doesn't know that how big of a star you were in Poland in your career.
Yeah, it was really good in Poland. I really enjoyed it. It was massive crowds and atmosphere was fantastic. I used to enjoy my weekends.
So I hear that you actually went out and got a Polish passport. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was riding for Bydgoszcz, and it was their idea.
Right.
And they said next year it's only one foreigner per team, and it was me and Emelenko, and we'd just won the league.
Right.
And they said, "Would like you to take a Polish passport out." I said, "Yeah, okay." And they said, "But you got to get married." I said, "Well, I'll have to ask my girlfriend about that first." Anyway, then they said, "Oh, you don't have to get married. We've sorted it." Lekwa Lensa was to Bydgoszcz to watch, and he could push a few strings and everything.
So do you still have a dual nationality passport?
Yeah, I still got it. It
way.
took a long time. The paperwork all disappeared, and I didn't get it while I was at Bydgoszcz. And then me and a friend, we went round looking for the paperwork because they changed the rules in England, and when you were a GP rider, they were only allowing one GP rider per elite league team.
Right.
There was too many of us, so we couldn't all ride in England.
Right.
And I thought, well, what am I going to do? So I went round looking for all this paperwork, and me and my friend went through with it all, and I ended up with a passport in the end.
So I got told earlier that your name in your passport was Ajov Kowalski?
It's still Andrew Smith.
Yeah, well, this is what I got told. So I got told that it was a really popular name in
Andrzej Kowalski.
Andrzej Kowalski, that's it. Yeah. And someone told me they're like, oh yeah, the fans picked his name for him, and it was a popular name in Poland. And then I spoke to Dave Haynes earlier today, and he went, no, it's translated Andrew Smith. So, so that is exactly what it is.
It's translated
in Polish. Is but they used to call you that over the microphone.
Yeah. Both.
You know what's very interesting to me is that you can translate a name. I mean, it's like Bill, right? My little brother Bill, who's the middle one. He went to school and he started learning Spanish. He came home and he said, well, my name in my Spanish class is Guillermo. And I was like, how? And he's like, well, that's translated. I'm like, how can you translate a name? It's not soccer ball and football or whatever you want to call it. It's Bill. You're not going to change your name. And he's like, no, I'm serious. And like, turns out his name is Guillermo. So he's being called Guillermo in his classroom now.
I had a friend I met in France, and his name was Guillermo. Who's that?
What's it going on there? Hang on. Oh, what's going on there?
You got it? Put the phone down.
It was Dave Haynes.
That was it. He said he was going to watch the other day. Early on, when I spoke to him, he said you were phoning him at the time. So, yeah. So, talking of Dave Haynes, he said when he first met you was after your crash in Germany.
Yeah, he really looked after me. He used to come and see me every day in hospital in Coventry for 3.5 months.
So,
my wife used to stay at his mum and dad's on a weekend because she was still working at the Halifax.
So, I've got the video here. Let me just play this so people can understand. If you haven't seen this before, this is Andy had a crash in Germany. Can you pronounce the track, Andy?
Pfarrkirchen.
Pfarrkirchen. There we go. I want to get that one wrong. Here's Andy's crash in with Gdansk. So check this out, and then we'll carry on the story from after the race.
Yeah.
So,
bin gesammelt und startet jetzt ganz oben mit dabei Gerd Gustafsson, Smith und Gessner. Erstes Finale in Pfarrkirchen und Kammerinen ist schlecht weggekommen. Legt euch nur an die Stelle.
So Andy's in the dark green helmet, I think.
Yeah.
Here he comes.
Die Nummer 14. Das ist Andrew Smith und ein
Oh my God.
Yeah. Total yard sale. But watch the replay here. Andy's bike actually rides up the back of Gdansk. What are you thinking there, Andy?
I thought, I hope no one runs me over.
Oh my goodness.
He was lucky he didn't come.
How did he stay up?
Yeah.
Der Badurzerer hat riesen Glück, dass er sich auf der Maschine halten kann.
Okay, imagine coming down at that speed, right? And you're flying, and all of a sudden you get a bike thrown at you.
Yeah.
Es ist unvergessen, aus Ausland.
And you don't have any brakes.
So the next part of this video, I asked Andy earlier, I said,
Unglück dabei.
it was a complete mess. But the next part of this video,
vor dem Finale, die Nerven spielen natürlich eine entscheidende Rolle. Wir hoffen aber, dass den Fahrern nichts passiert ist und dass sie am Wiederholungslauf teilnehmen können.
So they actually had a helicopter land, and I said, "Oh, was that for you?" And he said, "No, that was for the other guy. What was his name?"
Uwe Gessner.
And he hit Andy's bike that had just come off of Gdansk's back.
He ran me over. Got the tank slapper on, sorted himself out, and then he hit the bike.
Yeah, and why did he need air ambulance there, Andy?
Because blood was coming out of his ears and his nose, and
no way.
So when I was laid in hospital, they said he might not live through the night.
Oh. So fast forward to you coming to England. So you discharged yourself from a German hospital, is that right?
Yeah, because I was in that German hospital, and it only seemed that I was the only one in there. It was really weird. It was so like just too quiet. So my wife rang Gareth Perry, who did all the travel for us all, and he got me on an aeroplane. I think it was £900 at the time for 3 seats, because I was on a stretcher.
So before when we were talking, when we were talking, Andy said that he had to leave the hospital and he had to be in a stretcher. So he's strapped to this stretcher, and then when he gets to the airport, he's like, I really need to go to the toilet. So they actually stood him up in the stretcher to allow him to go to the toilet in the airport.
Yeah.
Right. And then they brought him on the plane, put him on 3 seats, strap the stretcher to the seats, and then fly to the UK.
Yeah.
And how did you get from the airport to Coventry Hospital when Dave Haynes met you?
The promoter from Coventry, Martin Ochiltree, and his friend who had an undertaking business. So we were going to come in the hearse, but we decided just to come in the Range Rover.
So he pulled up.
I went in the boot of the Range Rover.
Yeah.
And they dropped me off at Coventry Hospital.
Holy crap.
And then you was in hospital, did you say 3.5 months?
3.5 months, yeah. Then I had to
3.5 months.
Start walking on a Zimmer frame again and everything. While I was in there, there was Tommy Knudsen came in. I think John Jorgensen came in. There was a few more Speedway riders.
Well, they were all injured as well?
Yeah, they weren't in there that long, but they got injured on the weekend.
Right.
Now, what track was that they had the big crash at?
A lot of footballers.
Yeah.
What track was that you crashed at, Andy?
Pfarrkirchen in Germany. It was the World Long Track final.
Wow.
But they had to stitch all my hand back together. I don't know if you can see the scars, but it was all open and you could see all the bones.
Oh, lovely.
Oh,
so talking of injuries, of the injuries that you've had, you broke your neck twice.
Yeah. Broke
your back twice.
Yeah.
And you actually rode with a broken back as well.
Yeah, I rode for a few weeks for Reading and Gdansk. And I kept going to the hospital saying, my back's killing me. And they said, no, nothing's broken. And then all of a sudden they said, don't move, it is broken. So then the season was finished.
No way. So even though you were in a lot of pain, you thought, well, I'll still ride anyway.
Yeah, I still wanted to ride. I was trying to re-qualify for the Grand Prix.
Right.
After they finished the challenge. And because I ended up breaking my back, I didn't go to do the last 2 rounds.
Wow. The other thing is you're the only person to have 3 consecutive British finals. The only person to do it other than yourself was Ty Woofenden.
Yeah.
That's quite an achievement.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. It was good. The first, they were all really good for different reasons.
Yeah. So like, I feel, I think a lot of people seen you in the Grand Prix and things like that, and maybe you didn't have, like we said earlier, you didn't have the support that you might necessarily needed at that time, but every year you got back in through challenges and things like that. You re-qualified every year. You did 8 years, and we think you did 56 Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Talking earlier, we were saying about like the travel compared to what the riders are doing now, compared to what like you had to do back in the day. You were going to meetings at that highest level, the Grand Prix level, with no mechanics. Is that right?
Yeah, there was one year because my mum was really ill, and then a couple of weeks later she died, and my brother couldn't help me and stuff, and Dave Haynes had business problems he had to sort out, and I ended up going to a Danish GP by myself.
You mechanic for yourself at the meeting?
And Tony Ricardson's mechanics helped me a little bit when I had to go through scrutiny, because I had to go to the riders briefing. And then I ended up getting, I think, Steve Parnaby to help me a little bit in the pits.
Wow.
But before that meeting, Andy was saying earlier that he actually went to
Anton Nischler's
in Germany, Munich, before that meeting. He then drove back to the UK, rode at King's Lynn, and then drove to Denmark, all with no mechanic, on his own, doing all the racing, obviously, all the driving and all the mechanicking, all on his own. And I think that's, a lot of people think of Andy at that stage of his career, not thinking of winning 3 British finals on the trot, which is, it's a hell of an achievement for the caliber of riders that have come through. And for only yourself and Ty to win it, I think that's huge, massive. So congratulations on that, of course.
Now, speaking about mechanicking for yourself like that, for younger riders, right? Do you feel like it is extremely necessary for the younger riders to learn how to mechanic on your bike and do everything? I mean, some of the riders over here in the States probably don't even know how to clean their own carburetor,
Yeah.
Do you feel like there should be more of a youth program where you learn all of these things? I mean, with the British youth stuff that they have going on right now, there's numerous and countless things that they will learn due to those things. Do you feel like you would like to help riders in the future to learn how to do their carburetors, learn how to do their clutches, but then figure out their way to do it? So you don't just put it in, then they have to do it this way. You want to put it in, teach them the basics, and then learn, and then let them figure it out on their own later.
Yeah, let them get on with it. Like, for some riders, it works better, and other riders, it works the other way. And I know with my son, I've shown him stuff, and then, and then he went to Australia last winter, and I stayed in England, and he FaceTimed me a fair few times. Dad, how do I do this? I forgot, and he did it all by himself, and he come back, and he was really pleased that he had done everything by himself.
Yeah,
because what it was is. Go ahead.
Talking of Australia, I spoke to Joe Screen yesterday, and I said, "Have you got any stories on Andy?" I said, because when I was looking for photos and things like that of you and your career, there was lots of same sort of era was Screeny. So I get on quite well with Screeny. So I phoned him up and I said, "Oh, got any good stories?" And he said, "Oh, not really." He said, "But he said you can ask him about the time that we shared a room in Australia." And I was like, "All right, okay." Well, what happened there then? And he said there was a few Brits on this Aussie tour, and they and you and Screeny was sharing a room together. And he said everybody was like, having a good time. They're out having a few beers and this, that, and the other. And he said to me, he said, "Oh, Andy was trying to be really professional." And he said, and we were all just riding our bikes and then winding the clutches out and then winding them back in again and riding dirty bikes out in Australia and drinking beer and having barbecues. And he said, I had to share a room with Andy, and he's in there scrubbing the clutch plates in the bedroom, and he's took the bike apart, and he's still trying to be as professional as possible while we're out on tour. And he said that you'd had a bad run of meetings, so they turned around and convinced you that you needed to just leave your bikes alone and just ride them dirty. And that was completely against everything you said. And he said that was the most points you scored the whole trip where he was in Australia.
Yeah, I remember that. And Steve Schofield was there, and so some of the riders they didn't want to wash their bikes, so they got Steve Schofield to wash them.
Right?
Really?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Steve loved washing a bike.
I'm really sorry about this. It's annoying me. But yeah.
Yeah, it's true that story about me doing the clutch plates in the bedroom.
Adrian Smart says the show keeps breaking up. It shouldn't do. It should be fine. We're not having any problems here. Is there anybody else having any problems, or is it Adrian's connection maybe to the internet? Just comment below if you're having any problems viewing the show.
We'll continue on with the show though.
Yeah. So back in your day, Andy, in the peak of your career, a lot of riders, they did both. They didn't just stick to Speedway. They were on this grass track, they were on the long track and stuff like that. I don't know, was there more money in grass track and long track in those days, or was it just part and parcel that you did both?
Well, Poland hadn't started at that point.
Right.
And you just long track. It was something else to do on a weekend.
Right.
I just wanted to ride as much as possible.
Yeah.
And most of the grass tracks we did in England, we had to do to get our license. Otherwise, we couldn't go do the World Long Track.
Right. Okay. We got some.
I remember one time I asked if I could ride in the Berks Bonanza. Yeah.
Right.
And the promoter said, "Oh, it's full." He said, "But I will ring you on Sunday morning if there is a place." Yeah. So I thought, "Oh, that's it." Anyway, Sunday morning he rang. He said, "There's a place if you want to ride."
Right.
So, oh, great. So I threw everything in the van, and me and my friend Ian Mealia, a window cleaner, and my wife, we went to the grass track. There was Hans Nielsen there, Simon Wigg, Martin Hagen, Marvin Cox, and I can't remember all the others. And I won it.
Oh, happy days.
I have a question right here from Neil Sandys. Who was your best teammate, and who did you enjoy not riding against? I think we asked this last time on the show.
Right. Well, Paul at Bradford, when me and Paul Thorpe were together, it was like quite unbelievable. We knew every time where each other would be.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget how many 5-1s we got.
Wow. I mean, to have that guy in your career, and then you always knew that when I'm racing against this guy, we're probably going to have a 5-1. I mean, it's like Darcy and Chris. If they get in the same team together, you know it's going to be hard to beat them. The Turbo Twins.
Yeah.
It was very similar to Masha Janowski and my dad. And when they would team ride it, it would be pretty rad to watch because they would be racing in Molilla, for example, in his last year of racing. And you would just see him. You'd see Dad start carrying the speed around the outside, and you have Magic just about to dive bomb the guy on the inside. It's just you see them looking at each other all the time, going in and down the straights and stuff like that, and then just slowly turning, and all of a sudden they just switch, and now both of them are past the guy. You're just wow.
Yeah. Like there's so many riders you've ridden against in your career. It's hard to pick all of them out.
For sure.
So we got here Danny Hughes. How did you end up getting the name Smudger?
It's because apparently all Smiths are called Smudgers.
Oh.
If you look it up on the internet, I don't know why.
Is it like one of those, what is it? Urban Dictionary things?
Yeah.
Really?
And with being a racer, do you hate the small tracks?
This is perfect. This sets up the question I want to ask.
Yeah. Well, because I grew up on Bellevue at Hyde Road, which was like Big Gosh, yeah.
Right.
I did grass track, and I just liked all the big tracks. And then later on, I loved the small track at Kirky Lane.
Right.
I got to enjoy small tracks.
Okay.
Now, I heard that before the show, you've been watching some of my dad's social media things and stuff like that. You've seen the smaller tracks that we race on over here. Did you ever get to come over to the States and race at all?
Yeah, I rode for the rest of the world at Auburn.
Auburn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I enjoyed that trip. There was
what year did you come do that at?
It was before. It was the year after the Twin Towers.
2002.
Yeah, because when that happened,
all flights got shut down.
I was supposed to go to do that meeting, and I wouldn't fly. And I remember Phil Collins ringing me. He says, "Oh, you got to come, mate. What happened again? You'll be all right." I said, "I'm not flying. I don't feel like it."
I'll swim.
So you never went?
So when I went and did the meeting in America, I did it after the Grand Prix in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I had to fly I flew with Billy Hamill from Sydney to America. But then after the meeting, I had to fly back to Australia to fly back to England because that's the way my ticket works.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No way.
Well, actually, if you look at it this way, it is a little bit better to do that because Australia to America is closer. Yeah, it is. From Aussie to America, it's better.
Not if you're in Los Angeles already. Los Angeles is like a 14-hour flight to London, and then Sydney's like 26 hours.
No, it's not. It's not 14 hours. Get out of here. I've done it too many times. It's 11. 10, actually 10 to London, 11 to Stockholm.
So then Sydney's 26 hours. So if he's already in Los Angeles, he's got to fly back.
No,
he's got to fly back to Australia and then 26 hours back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hell of a trip.
Oh, never mind. I was thinking the opposite, that you could go from Aussie, America, London, but you went America, Aussie, London.
Yeah.
So that would be backwards. That would be backwards.
Yeah,
God. Because I think from LA to Sydney is not that far, or compared to what it is
I think it's about 10 hours, something like that.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it is from whatever it is. Because from here to like Dubai, it's like 16.
Yeah, probably
something like that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on from that.
Yes. But I want to hear what he thought about the track there.
Yeah,
because Auburn's very, very interesting.
Oh, I had a good meeting. I really enjoyed it.
Really?
But when we went for a practice the day before, the bike picked up, and I was going straight for the fence. But there was a hole in the fence for the riders going in and off.
Oh, right there.
Yeah. So I went straight out the track, and then I came back in.
You're kidding. Wait, so did you go out the way you exit the track?
Yeah. And I came back the way.
You stood the bike up and went straight. That's straight so funny.
But if it had happened on the other corner, I wouldn't have been as lucky.
No, you would have been a little bit not too good.
In that practice, what was his name? A German rider. He broke his
McCorpy. No.
Damn it, he's a tuner, and the name's gone out of my head.
Was it? Wait, 2001? No, 2002. Does he still race now?
No, he's just tunes engines.
Oh,
who have we got? Kowalski.
That's Polish.
He's German.
Oh,
he's German. Oh, right. I have no idea.
I only know Tornado Racing Camps.
Kugelman.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Jorgen.
He broke his leg?
He broke his collarbone. In practice, so he couldn't do the meeting.
Really? Because
and then
I've heard...
Go
ahead. No, go on.
And then in the meeting, Mando was riding, and he broke his nose.
Nose? Wow.
Good effort.
I mean, because I know that track is the only way to run it is like this. There's no other way to ride that track. Yeah. So I've heard so many riders say that when they came from Europe over there to do the meeting, they would have a terrible, terrible practice, right? Yeah. Because they would just go around and try to feel out the track. Yeah. You can do that on a big track, but you can't do that on that track because it's like this and then like that.
Yeah.
And then they would go out and score 15 points in the meeting because they would just all of a sudden just go.
Nail it, yeah.
I think the best time I've ridden that track is when I win the heats because you just go. Doesn't matter. Don't look back. Just go.
And then I went to Reno with Tony Casper and Amando. And
was that just party? That wasn't racing.
And we just went to have a look and everything, and we came back the same night. So we got back early in the morning, and we were in John Cook's car.
This better be good.
We get back to John Cook's, and there's guns firing, and his neighbour's trying to shoot him.
sounds like Cookie.
Yeah. And
talk about Cookie. He had so much natural talent. He could jet ski. He could unicycle. He could he could put him on anything, and he'll learn how to do it. And he walks around with the bent back now, and he has his. He's just rad. He drives sprinters everywhere, and he stays out, and he's like, just take my motor home for a drive, and he'll go down, and he'll come visit us or whatever he does, and still shows up to my races and watches me. And Fred, his son, also came out, and he's half Swedish and can still speak some Swedish, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So we have got a question here from John O'Burks. Asking what happened in Gdansk. I'm pretty sure I've already got this question written down to ask you. What happened in Gdansk with the promoter and the Red Bull cap?
I lost it.
I lost it.
Yeah, me and Dave, Gdansk were messing me around a bit. I was scoring double figures, and then all of a sudden they didn't use me. After I had a bad meeting at Poznan.
You're only as good as your last meeting.
Yeah, so I packed everything up, went home, and then the promoter rang me up. He says, we need you for the playoffs. I said, am I riding? He said, 100% you're riding. So me and Dave Haynes, we drove over here non-stop, and it's 30 hours, yeah? And we get there in the morning for practice, and I'm waiting for the boxes to charge up, and Robert Savigny's on my case saying, you got to practice now, you got to practice now. I said, 10 minutes, the boxes are ready to put on the bikes, and then I can practice. So then the promoter comes around the corner, and he says, you're being rude to my staff. I said, no, I'm not. I said, I'm just waiting for the boxes to charge up, yeah? And he said, anyway, you're not riding. I said, you're having a joke, are you? He said, no, you're not riding. So I was tired and everything, and I just lost it, and I threw the can at him.
You're kidding.
Then it ended up in a bit of a brawl, and
the question
that was my last ever meeting.
That was your last ever meeting in Poland, or in
ever.
Oh right, that was your last ever meeting ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. The question I was going to ask is, did you headbutt the president of Gdansk?
Yeah, well, that's what happens.
We have a good comment here. I'm sorry to hear you got smashed up and your crash there. I remember seeing you at Exeter Speedway when I was first introduced to the sport. How are you these days? Do you have lots of pain, or are you still able to work? I wish you all the best. From Sarah Trigger. Is this Ben Trigger's mom?
Yes, Ben Trigger's mom, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I have been in a lot of pain. I think it's been worse with this lockdown. Not doing as much and traveling around with Jack and being busy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's got worse.
Yeah. How many broken bones do you reckon you've had?
First ever bone I broke was my leg.
Right.
And my knee exploded.
I broke my leg too, first bone.
That's why you should have knee braces.
Yes.
And if I'd had them on, I would have saved my knee.
So how many all told, how many bones do you reckon you've broken during your career? 25 years. Must have done a few.
Well, my leg, my foot, my jaw, my back. Maybe a collarbone.
Quite a few then.
Yeah.
So do you think that knee braces are beneficial for younger riders as well?
Oh, definitely. As soon as my son started, he didn't want to ride. He wasn't interested at all. He played football.
And then you said get on a bike and go?
And then one day I was helping some riders in Australia because they were living in Australia in Perth. And he said to his mum, why don't Dad teach me? But you never want to ride. I want to ride now. So that's when he started to ride when he was 12.
Right.
And I bought him some knee braces.
Really?
Straight away. Actually, he started to ride. He had a ride in England, and at 12, and then he didn't ride till he was 14 in Austria. Because the first ever time he went round Stoke Speedway, he broke his arm and his elbow.
Oh. So it's in the family then that you break bones racing Speedway?
Yeah. Well, I didn't break a leg for a long, long time, and I had a lot of crashes before that.
Yeah.
I just bounced, and I used to think, oh, I'll be all right. But then it happens.
You have this question right here. Do you like the GP better or the one-off final?
I really like the GPs. I think it's better for the riders to get sponsors and everything. I rode in 2 one-off world finals. And I tried to get sponsors to do that in the years. And they said, oh, well, come back when you've qualified for the world final. So then you go back to them when you've qualified, and the company would say, oh, we've spent our budget. Where with a GP, if you're in that and you're in it for the next year, you can plan, can't you?
Yeah, for sure.
And then the business can see, and they can see they're getting the benefit from it and everything.
Yeah.
So something we spoke about earlier with, do you prefer? Would you have preferred to be racing now or when you rode before?
I really enjoyed when I raced. I had good fun. The crowds were good and everything. A lot of people said we had the best times in Poland and everything, with the crowd wise. But I would have really enjoyed some of that money. Retired.
Here we go. We got Ashley Burks coming on here now. Andy, please tell us your best night party in recent years. Ryan Douglas.
What is that with Ashley Burks?
Yeah, I presume it is. Ashley asked.
Yeah.
That's all you got to say.
Yeah.
You'll probably know. Do you remember when we was at the Golden Helmet? And so the other week we had Hans Andersen on. And I said to him, oh, do you remember what happened when you was at the Golden Helmet? And he had a hire car, and someone opened the door of the hire car as he was reversing out and snapped the door off the hire car. Yeah. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
I remember you being there, but Hans completely denied it. And I was like, I'm 90% sure that it was him, but he completely denied it.
I probably remember the glass that hit me in the head.
Yeah, I remember that.
He probably don't know that I knew that, but Dave saw it being thrown.
Who threw it?
Hans.
Oh, it was Hans.
Yeah.
I remember being in that nightclub, and I remember it all kicking off about that. But I didn't know it was Hans that threw it. Yeah, that was a crazy day. That was.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So, here we go. Wilbur, go for it.
What did you think of the new structure with helping British riders from the season? Not sure if it will be benefited for Jack now, as not sure he fits the criteria, but do you think Jack could have benefited more from it when it was brought in sooner? And do you think it will work? Should they be more training schools like when you rode, in your opinion?
Yeah, for sure. There should be more training schools and everything. Yeah. And I don't actually know the criteria. I don't even know if there is an age limit or anything on it. But I mean, at the moment, Jack hasn't got a team.
Okay.
What's he looking? Is he looking to do National League Championship or?
He just wants to ride. Like he's got a second division Polish team,
right?
At Wittstock, which at least he's got that. And he has been quite down because he hasn't been riding.
Yeah.
Well, because he's got that now, he's been training all the time. So getting ready for the season.
Probably the most controversial thing to happen this year, or in the last year, is the Polish contracts saying that riders can't ride they can't ride in too many other countries. Do you think that's justified, or what's your thoughts on that, Andy?
Well, I like to ride as much as possible. and so did Lee Adams or Crumpy or But like they pay such big money in Poland now. They don't want to see they want their star rider there every week, don't they?
Yeah.
And I don't know about the like Riss has just pulled out of Redcar, hasn't he, in King's Lynn?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. Well, there's something still not right about the young English rider because Joe Lawler lost his place because of that.
Right.
Where he was in the team if Riss had still been there.
Yeah.
So there's still things that need looking at about that. But I think they should have had the 2 young English riders at 6 and 7, but they did that, I think, 6 or 7 years ago anyway.
Yeah.
And then it sort of got scrapped again.
Yeah.
I think they should carry on with it.
My opinion was that I didn't actually like that, because when you go to watch an Elite League meeting, you're not actually watching an Elite League meeting, because I remember back in the day, in the 90s, I remember going to Swindon. I think you was at Swindon actually, and you know, you had one hell of a team. You know, I remember there was you, Lee Adams, and Jimmy Nielsen, all 3 Grand Prix riders.
Oh yeah, that was a good year
at Swindon. You know, there wasn't even the reserves race were amazing races because everyone was at that top level. You know,
and you know that season I didn't start that season.
No,
I didn't have
when they had those horrible lycra suits that they put over your Kevlar.
Yeah, I didn't have an English team at that time, and I was living in Bydgoszcz. I just had a Polish team in the Grand Prix, and Peter Toogood phoned up to see if I'd come back and ride in England.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like having that, I think maybe weakens the league by having those reserves, but at the same time, you know, we have got to bring on these young riders, and you know, out of all of the teams, then maybe there's going to be, you know, 1 or 2 superstars that come from that and sort of get to show their potential, which is obviously
well, in Poland, the 6 and 7 are under 21.
Yeah,
and I think it should be the same in England.
Oh, here we go, Andy. Uncle Andy, who's your favourite niece from India?
Maddie.
There we go. That's that one.
She's going to kill me now.
Oh, here we go. So we've got Adrian Smart here. I think what the Polish top league Speedway are doing is wrong, and the FIM should grow some balls. There we go. That's that. I mean, so how often do you get out to Poland now, Andy?
I was going quite often, but I went once last year. Me and Jack went to watch the Torrent GP.
Right. I think it was a year before. I can't remember what it was. Last year, the year before, I think it was. I seen you at the Thomas Golub meeting.
Yeah.
In Bydgoszcz, and I was with Ashley and Jason Doyle.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you come across the centre green. I think it was you and Jack together from the pits. You come across the centre green, and the whole place went mental. And I was like, "Oh wait!" Like you were like still to this day like a big deal at Bydgoszcz. It was insane to see. You know, like I remember everyone coming over to you, buying you drinks and everything. It was. I mean, that's got to be good, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
legacy from when you was racing over there. That there's still like a.
I think the first season I did in Bydgoszcz, I ended up with a 2.8 average.
Right.
Because they do it on a 3-point average for a max.
Ah, okay. Oh, right. So it's the average is done on the race.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Cool. So we've only got a few more minutes left. So got a few more photos here. I mean, in your day, you rode with some legends, haven't you?
Yeah, Greg.
Yeah. Who?
Greg Hancock.
Never heard of him.
Isn't that guy like my uncle or something?
So Here, Per Jonsson.
Per Jonsson, yeah. I really like racing with Per.
Yeah. I mean, look at that hairdo there, Andy. I mean, that's pretty special.
And then you look at Per's hairdo.
That's at Torren. And
was it the old Torren? I take it.
Yeah. And
is that the military sitting in the back there?
Yeah, yeah. They had to escort us out of the place because they were smashing everything up because they lost.
You're kidding.
No,
and apparently it was the first time Big Gosh had ever won there.
Oh, and it's Derby, isn't there?
Yeah, and I dropped 1 point.
Oh, I remember being in Torren and the big coaches turned up with the riot police in, and they get out, and you're just like, what is this? And it was just like to keep everybody in order and stuff like that, and it was full riot gear.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And I remember me and Joe went to Gdansk. That's a wicked place. I like Gdansk.
Yeah, I do.
Torren had to win the meeting to stay in the Extraliga, I think it was, and all the Torren fans got put into this pen at the side of the pits there, and they were all cheering and shouting, and there was throwing bottles, and like it was insane. And they had to let the Gdansk fans out till they were all out before they let the Torren fans out.
I've seen people's vans get destroyed as they try to drive them out.
No way.
I remember when we were in Gdansk. Oh, was it Gdansk or was it? No, it was Gruzins. And we were there because it's Torren versus Gruzins is a derby match, I believe. And we were exiting the arena, and they wanted all the riders to leave first, because they started throwing stuff down in the pits because Torren won the meeting. Like last minute, there was like a last heat decider or something like that, and they won the meeting, and the fans didn't get too happy about that. So the fans started throwing stuff down in the pits. And then like big security guards came in, and it was the police that came in, and the military, like their high security military came in too. They had to escort us out of the track all the way, like police escort with the cars too, all the way out until you were like almost probably like a mile away from the track at least. It was far, and it's just crazy because they were like holding us, like over their heads and stuff like that, running out. It's just crazy.
Crazy. So we got another photo here with a young Joe Screen there. Thomas Collins,
that was the open meeting at Big Gosh at the start of the season.
Okay.
And me and Joe, we flew together and we landed in Gdansk, yeah? And we thought, this is never going to be on. It's about 3 foot deep in snow. Then when the taxi got us to Big Gosh, it was fine.
Cool. And Thomas, back in these days, did he speak much then?
Yeah, he didn't speak a lot of English. Yeah, where Jacek, he spoke good English, and I got on really good with Jacek. We had some good fun.
So what happened to the hair then, Andy? Like every photo I could find earlier, that you got the hairdo going on.
It don't grow anymore.
Oh, it doesn't grow anymore. And you got into modelling now, haven't you? You got this one here.
Oh no, that's a Big Gosh with Ashley Burks.
and then we got your early days here.
Yeah, that's when I was 16 for Bellevue.
There we go. Brilliant. Yeah, cool. Well, I think we'll sort of leave it there. Thanks very much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure having you on, and I hope the fans have sort of heard stories that maybe they haven't heard before, or in fact, I've got the other story to tell, and I don't think we said this on the show, but can you tell the fans what happened to you at Coventry on the Pitts Bend with the push bar?
Yeah, it was a race.
This is ridiculous.
The week before the World Final in Pocking, I was racing for Coventry against Bradford, and Sean Wilson and Wiggy, and I was the meat in the middle.
Right.
I ended up crashing, and I was just sat on the track. I felt fine. And I thought, I'm peeing myself. Yeah?
Right.
So anyway, I thought, I'll just stand up now and walk off. Anyway, I stood up and there was blood just running out my boots and everything.
Oh.
And the push bar had stuck in my groin and gone through a main artery. And I lost 3.5 pints of blood.
Oh, my God.
On the track. And Colin Meredith saved my life because he noticed what was going on and he stood on my groin to stop it bleeding.
I mean, any other circumstances, you'd not be happy about that. And then, but in that same week, you said earlier your daughter was born in that same week.
Yeah, my daughter was born in the middle of that week.
Yeah, and then at the weekend, you then went and did what?
I did the world final in Pocking, and I finished 5th. I got 10 points, and it was 1 on 12. Sam Melanco won it on 12.
And you was only a few days earlier nearly died.
Yeah. They made me, when I got to Pocking, they made me run up and down the pits and then stand on one leg and then stand on the other leg, just to make sure I could ride.
Now that is your physical right there. Oh, run up and down there, stand on one leg, stand on the other leg, and you're good to go.
Sounds like a sobriety test, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, have you been drinking? Walk up there, walk back here.
Yeah.
Can you stand on one leg? But in fact, here is another question that's relevant to that. Craig Smee, do you think you would have had a longer career in the sport if you hadn't had so many injuries? Greg Hancock is one that stands out, being quite lucky with injuries and not having too many in his career. Would you have rode longer, or do you think you retired at the right time?
I never retired. It was just that incident in Gdansk. I'd had enough.
So will you announce your retirement right here so we can post that? And just
I'm definitely retired, yeah.
Guys, this is breaking news. Andy Smith has announced his retirement on the Speedway Chat Show.
I think, well, the last year I rode, I was 42.
Right.
But I felt I could have gone on for a bit longer. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. How old's Paul Hurry now? I see Paul Hurry signed to ride at Kent, I think it is this year.
I think.
Is he? He's got to be late 40s, isn't he?
Yeah, roundabout there.
Well, good on him. Good on him.
He's same age as Screeny, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. About that. He's that era for sure.
Yeah.
So, okay, right, wicked. Well, thanks, Andy, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. And like I said, I hope a load of the fans have heard things that they didn't know about Andy. And, and it's been an insightful evening for me, for sure. So
there's a lot more stories, but it'll go on forever, won't it?
Yeah, and only some of them we can talk. Here we go. Can you confirm that your brother is thinking about making a comeback?
Yeah. Well, if he trained as hard as he does now, definitely. He's a fitness instructor now.
Really?
There you go.
Yeah.
So, like we were saying, Paul's 36, I think. 46, sorry. Paul Hurry's 46, apparently. There we go. Right, let's sign out, and we'll finish the show there. Thanks very much for coming on, Andy. It's been great, and yeah, we'll save the other stories for another time when we're having a beer, because I don't think some of them can't be told.
Well, there was one where David Haynes was driving the van,
right?
And
spill some beans on Dave.
We fitted Barham tyres to the transit van, yeah.
Right.
And the team manager said, these tyres are really good. They'll be perfect. Anyway, we had 2 blowouts on the Autobahn in Germany. It was quite scary.
Holy hell!
So have you got any good stories on Dave or Jono?
Dave and Jono, well, Dave and my brother going out, and then I never knew where they were till the next morning before Grand Prix practice.
Yeah. Well, there we go. We'll leave it there. All right, mate. Thank you very much. If you just stay in the background, we'll come and speak to you in a second.
Yep.
Cheers, bud. Wow, there we go.
That was a wonderful show. That was awesome.
That was a brilliant show. I love speaking with Andy. He's a legend.
For sure.
But yeah, so
we have a major announcement.
Yeah, major announcement. We got the podcast. So if you didn't hear at the very beginning of the show, we are now going to be putting a podcast out. So all you need to do is shout at whatever your favorite smart speaker is. Just say, "Hey Alexa, I want to listen to the Speedway Chat Show," or "Hey Google, listen to the Speedway Chat Show," and it will play the recent Speedway Chat Show. So if you're driving in the car, cooking dinner, or just sat around the house, and it's going to be a lot easier way to consume our live show. So you better listen to all of it and hear all the stories while you're getting on with other things. And then the big announcement. So this has been one of the guests that I've wanted to get on literally from day one. He's been the guest that I wanted to get on, and for I think twice we've confirmed with him, and it's not happened. But I can proudly announce that next Wednesday at 7:30 UK time, we have the one and only Nicky Pedersen. So if you want to get any questions in for Nicky for next week, we've got Nicky on for an hour. We're going to grill him on all the do's and don'ts of his Speedway career and highs and lows. But yeah, it's going to be a great show. I've been speaking to him this week. So yeah, Nicky Pedersen next Wednesday. Tune in. It's going to be a good show.
Yes. And then, get your comments in. That show, I think that show might go a little bit over our 1 hour mark. Who knows? That's going to be very interesting. We're hoping for it. We're hoping for it to be great. And I'm looking forward to that one a lot.
And we want to hear your thoughts. Get watching this show. It's going to be good. Get in any questions, or if you've got any links or anything like that you've seen any videos and you want to ask him, well, what happened here and why did you do this? Please, send them over in the week, and I'll do my best to get them all out.
You can direct message me. You can direct message Jerry. You can direct message the Speedway Chat Show on Facebook. Just get them in wherever you want. I'm really looking forward to this show.
It's gonna be a good one.
And links too. Links will be great. Videos, anything like that. We'll react to anything, watch anything. It's up to you.
So guys, it's been another great show, and we will. I think with the podcast, it might not be ready yet because it needs approving and things like that, but it will be out in the next few days if it's not already. We will see you next week. It's been an absolute pleasure. And
thank you guys for watching.
See you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.